Okay. Let's start with today's weekly meeting. Consider weekly meeting. Okay. Topics I do have, or topics I have is okay. Regarding Ceph ADM, I did a bunch of backports for Ceph ADM for 15.2.2. Lots of bug fixes that users are currently running into. Plus lots of documentation improvements by Zach Dover, which is also really helpful. Because right now the upstream users are running into issues. Things that we haven't expected, or usability issues. And we need to fix them as soon as possible. I looked into properly removing hosts. Like if you want to remove a host from Ceph ADM, then right now the user experience is really bad. You have to manually make sure that no daemons are running on a given host, and then remove the host. Otherwise, you will left with some hosts that are still part of the cluster but no longer known to Ceph ADM, which is not really great experience. And then while doing that, I discovered that our scheduler seems to work a bit, at least unexpected from my side. So let's say you have a placement specification like service type month, for example, and then you have a placement specification where you say host is my host and count is 3. So you want to have 3 monitors, but you're only specifying one host. What should Ceph ADM do? So the current behavior is to schedule on my host plus choose totally random 2 other hosts and then schedule or deploy 3 monitors. And I think that behavior is a bit unexpected. At least it was unexpected to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the behavior is definitely unexpected and that should be fixed. Because if you didn't specify, if you explicitly specify a host, then we should only deploy on that host and, well, give out at least a warning saying that this placement spec cannot be fulfilled.
Mm. Yeah, the current idea was that count has a bigger precedence compared to the host, but at least my understanding is that I'm giving a bound regarding the host and I'm giving a bound regarding the count, and the combined bounds result in in at least one that I would expect in a deployment, in a scheduling result that I would expect.
Personally, I would give the host's argument a higher precedence than the count one, but I don't know.
I think you don't
Because
need that.
host is very explicit.
If you specify 4 hosts and say I want 3 as a count, then we can choose 3 daemons based on these 4 given hosts.
Right, but we should respect the circumstance when the number of hosts is lower than count. That should not even be possible, maybe, in the first place. Maybe we should bail out, like right from the get-go, saying that this is an invalid configuration.
And what if you want to have one service one daemon more than one instance of the same daemon in one host? For example, in the case of monitors, maybe it hasn't too much sense, okay? But for other daemons,
we are using host networking for everything, and then we would need to we need to specify different ports and stuff like that. We are not there yet with Ceph ADM to have two daemons of the same type running on a given server. We are simply not there yet.
okay.
Maybe in the future. But
Okay,
with host
so
networking, it's difficult, right?
Sebastian, could you say what happens again exactly when you do that? The original spec you showed where you had one host and then the count 3. What happens?
Yeah, right now you're deploying 3 mons. One mon will be deployed on my host, and 2 other monitors will be deployed on random hosts. And that was a bit unexpected for me.
Okay. Yeah, I could see how I mean, that makes sense to me, but I could see how you would think that'd be weird.
I mean, I would even argue that this is an invalid placement spec. And if we go with a strict policy, which I think we should do, then this should be rejected when you apply it, because we cannot fulfill it. At least yeah.
Even it seems that host and count maybe are not compatible, okay? Because you can produce not compatible or not good placement specifications using both things, okay? It seems sensible that if you are using only host, you are going to put the list of the host, and after you say, if there is only the possibility of deploy one daemon in one host, so if you put host, there is only the possibility to put the host that you explicitly type. If you use count, what you have is just to have this number of daemons. It doesn't matter in what host. Okay, so maybe I think that with the current situation in this moment, maybe it's not compatible to have host and count in the same placement spec.
No, I think it's compatible, but the number, the count needs to be always lower or equal to the number of hosts that you have specified. So
yes,
but if you use then the count one, it acts as a sort of a limiter. So if you specify a host list of 10, but you only say count 3, then it would like randomly pick from one of those 10 hosts. That kind of makes sense. So I could see that this has some application, but it's probably the rare case, I think. But the other way around is kind of awkward, I think, and probably should be rejected.
So I did a second example where I'm using my monitors as a label and specify the count of 3. But what happens if we have only 2 hosts with the label my monitors?
I think that's again an invalid configuration, right?
Really?
Because I mean, the user expects to have 3, right? That's why he used count 3. And then there will be only spawning 2. And then he needs to investigate himself that and he will eventually find out that there are only 2 hosts with the label mon, and then he needs to adapt this. So, and I think we can avoid this manual investigation kind of step by just stopping the application of the spec. Just saying this will not end up in a valid configuration, or well, it's valid, but it cannot be fulfilled because there are not enough hosts with label foo, or
Rejecting this as invalid has some implications. For example, the MDS autoscaler might run into problems if it wants to spawn more daemons that are than currently available, specified by host or label.
Yeah. So this should definitely also be printed in the health fail dictionary that we pass to Ceph, right? So if this is not being executed by a user, this should definitely end up in the Ceph warning string in that section. But this, if we pass it over the command line, I think it's a good option to bail out and not apply it and not save it, probably. At least that's I think right now.
If you are using labels or a pattern, then we are really making a burden on the MDS autoscaler, that it first has to query the list of hosts and apply a future or a possible placement specification manually, just to discover that there aren't enough hosts, and then not execute this change. So we are simply giving the burden of testing that to the MDS autoscaler, for example.
I mean, there could be an interactive and non-interactive mode, right? So if scaling up or down is being done by a script, you could like do what you can, do some sort of best effort scenario, and print this warning saying that the MDS autoscaler does not have enough resources. Please add more labels to your host, right? And if this is done by a user, we could either do the same thing and just print the warning, or stop. I don't know. This seems to be the options that we have. But I think just applying what the user has specified, because I think if I would provide count 3, I would expect to have 3 services up and running. But if this is not the case and there is no warning and no help text or whatever, I would be kind of puzzled, I guess.
What's the behavior in Kubernetes? If you specify 4 routers gateways, but only have 3 nodes available. Travis? Miguel?
Well, what I think is that we are going to have all the diamonds, and we are going to have an error in the placement of one of the pods, okay? Because there is no place to deploy the extra, the additional diamond, okay? For example, if you specify for RGW and you only have 3 nodes, in these 3 nodes are going to be deployed the RGW diamond, and you are going to have another RGW pod with an error, okay, because there is no place where to deploy this pod.
Sorry, was the question how Rook behaves when there are no more daemons available for it? Okay.
Yeah.
And
no more nodes available.
Yeah. In Kubernetes, there's 2 ways you can specify placement that's applicable here. One is like require the anti-affinity, and one is not require, but basically recommend the anti-affinity. So if it's just a nice to have, you can still place them on like multiple daemons on the same node. But if it's required, like for mons, we require the anti-affinity, then we'll block deploying the mons if you can't satisfy the condition.
So, but you
So
will deploy
nothing
as
would.
many as you want, as many as it can.
Right. Rook will kind of get stuck today, actually, if you don't have enough daemons to deploy them. It'll just keep trying to sit there and retry. So to get out of that, you have to add more nodes today.
That's also not really ideal, right?
Right. At the same time, it's also kind of the Kubernetes pattern where, well, you requested this, I'm going to retry it indefinitely and until I can apply it. Yeah. But it is not ideal from an error perspective for sure.
Hmm.
But in Kubernetes, it depends more of the kind of affinity that you are specifying. Okay, if you are forcing that you want this kind of placement, what is going to do is trying to deploy the pod in that placement forever. So
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we should only be strict for certain service types. For example, for a mon, where it's worse to have an uneven amount of mons, but for the rest of the services, basically it doesn't really matter if you're missing one,
Right. And that's why I think for all the daemons, Rook uses the preferred anti-affinity instead of the required anti-affinity. So mons, yeah, we definitely use required anti-affinity.
Hmm. Okay. Going with an interactive flag, I think it does make sense, right? If you specify such a wrong placement and you know it right now because you're still synchronously executing that command from the CLI, I think we can bail out. It's just that if the scheduler is running and constantly trying to apply the current specifications, then I think we should do as much as we can, as long as it's safe to do. Okay, Joshua?
Yeah, sure. At least if we print a warning saying that we're still trying to get the prescribed amount of services up and running, I mean, some indication that something is still missing.
Mm.
But then, sure.
okay, and one question. Then the precedence is first to take into account the host and then use the count over this host.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you specify 4 hosts and you're saying count is 3, then you will deploy 3 months or 3 daemons.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's do it that way then. We just need to figure out how to migrate existing clusters using the old scheduler. to the new scheduler. I just don't want to break existing clusters, so we have to find a migration path. Anyway. That's all I have for Ceph ADM. Any more topics for Ceph ADM?
Well, just to comment that we have started to taking a look to the well, not only the high availability of the dashboard, okay, also of all the Prometheus stack, okay, all the monitoring stack with Prometheus, Grafana, and the alert manager, okay, different options that we have in order to make this high available, okay, and well, this is all. I think that maybe we can suggest propose have a proposal for this week.
Yeah, we've discussed it on last week in the bi-weekly meeting. There's still some notes here. Okay, Jean-Miguel, you want to make a proposal?
For the next bi-weekly sync?
No, for our group here.
Okay, what well, I can explain what is more or less what we are taking into account. Okay, basically is well, there are several possibilities, and one of them is well, I think that well, to have Prometheus server storing information in RBD, okay, in order to make the information of the Prometheus server and all the metrics persistent, okay, and then to have well the Prometheus server deployed in, for example, if we have 3 nodes with 3 dashboards, we have 3 Prometheus manager and the HA proxy, okay, acting as load balancer between all the Prometheus servers. If we have a problem in one of the Prometheus server, the HA proxy is going to change the active Prometheus server, okay? And if we have a problem in the host, for example, the host is down, what we are going to have is just the manager changing the active manager, and we are going to be in another different server with the Prometheus server running. Okay. For the alert manager and Grafana, I think that, well, in this case, this is stateless elements, okay? So probably we can use just to start the container with a restart option, okay, in order to be replaced if there is any problem with the alert manager of Grafana, okay? In the case of change of the manager, because the host is down, what we need to do basically is, well, Ceph ADM must start a new alert manager and a new Grafana. This is one possibility. We are taking into account all the, there are more possibilities, okay? And well, I think that we need to discuss this, okay? And then to present our option.
Okay. Have you seen issue 44577?
No.
So even without a load balancer, we still have to, or without HA proxy, we still have to reconfigure
yeah.
Grafana or reconfigure the corresponding daemons in order to or on manager failover we still have to reconfigure things like reconfigure Prometheus to point to the new manager module. So I wonder if we really should focus on the monitoring part when it comes to HA proxy, because we still can do lots of stuff without HA proxy, at least for the internal services.
Yes, with this approach, basically what we are going to have is all the monitoring stack in each of the servers where the dashboard is running. Okay, so I think that we can avoid the configuration of the items, because in each of the hosts, what you are going to have is all the pieces in the same host. Okay. And what we are going to do with the HA proxy is just to move the Prometheus server in section in case that you will have any kind of problem. But for the dashboard, the address of the Prometheus server is always going to be the address of the HA proxy in the local host. I think that probably it can be better explained with a graphic. Okay.
Yeah, I think I understand it.
Okay, it's just to replicate the monitoring stack in each of the hosts. Okay. Obviously, okay. we do not need to have the alert manager and the Grafana server in each of the hosts. Okay, because it's easy to start that. But for Prometheus, it's different. With this approach, I think that we can avoid any loss of data in the time series. Okay. And also we avoid problems, for example, with the dashboard not responsive to, or not showing the Grafana boards.
Okay. Yeah, I think I understand it. I think I understand your proposal.
And what do you think?
I think it does make sense to some degree. I just haven't really thought out all the details in order to understand it.
Okay. Well, it's enough. Okay. What I said is that it's not something that I need. I think that we need to think a little bit more on it. Okay, and to present something more in order to to see if everybody or what happened, what are the things of everybody.
At least for LGW and the dashboard itself, and NFS, we really need HA proxy, right? I'm just not yet totally sure about the monitoring stack.
Okay. In the other case, I think that it's more simple. Okay, it's just to use the proxy with the load balancer feature, checking what is the health of the different endpoints in order to redirect to the right endpoint. Okay, so in this case, it's just to start a new container with the HA proxy and the right configuration, and also is a stateless service, so it's easy to start it. Another thing is to obtain monitoring data from the HA proxy. Okay, this is a different thing, but I think that if we can use the version 2.0 or upper of the HA proxy, there is a Prometheus exporter and all the metrics are available.
Okay. Um, I think that's okay for today. Any other thoughts on that topic? Okay. We have a Rook section again. Travis, that's from you?
Yeah, I put a couple of thoughts there. The first one is something that came up on Friday, thinking through the scenario of removing or replacing an OSD. There's this CR open now, which makes it simple to run Ceph commands as a Kubernetes job, as opposed to our toolbox right now is just a pod that you have to connect to, and you have an interactive prompt where you can execute things, right? But for this case where you just want sort of a one-time action, or maybe a whole script, or maybe a script you run periodically or something, it seems useful to be able to run the commands as a Kubernetes job. So that's just kind of an FYI. Maybe others will find it useful, maybe not. But it's something like this we might be able to use as well with basically with the OSD removal if the manager modules are going to implement that.
Just wondering, you can always execute lots of Ceph commands from Rook itself.
Inside the operator, yes. This is if the admin wants to run some commands that, without writing code in the operator. It's, he could start out the toolbox, type the commands, or run some script in the toolbox. But if he wants to kind of automate something or do a one-time task, running it as a Kubernetes job can just simplify some scenarios, like OSD removal.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other item, just I think we talked about it last week with Miguel's work for the daily test suite for Ceph Manager. What's the latest on that, Miguel?
Well, this is the basic skeleton with the basic test, okay? But the target is to have one suite running all the nights, okay, in order to detect any kind of problem with the API, okay? In this moment, I think that I don't know what is happening, okay, because the suite is using the latest master image of the Ceph container, okay, and I think that I think that the modification that I did in order to have the list of the device with the available setting, the available attribute properly reported, okay, this pull request has been merged, okay, but I don't know why this is not appearing properly in the output of the command, okay, in the suite. So I need to check what is happening, or maybe in the master container is not this modification still. I don't know.
It should be already in there, your modification.
Okay, I will check. Thank you.
let me know if another pair look at that, the integration test failures. I'm gonna look for a few days. Resolving network issues. Can you hear me okay?
It's okay-ish. It sounds a bit artificial. I don't know.
Turn off my video. Any better?
Still choppy.
Okay. I'll follow up offline. Hold on.
I can't hear you, Travis. No.
Oh, can you hear me?
Satellite sound is difficult to understand.
Talk to you later.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Any other topics? Nothing. Okay. Then, see you again next week.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.